No one dared say it, but it was all everyone was thinking. It was entirely his worship, the ghost of Archbishop Thomas Becket's fault. It was old John Bristles, the butcher, who first discovered the outrage. He woke that morning as the mist still wrapped the cottages with an out-of-sorts feeling. He put it down to getting out of bed on the wrong side. Why he couldn't say. Mind, he had forgotten his bedtime prayers last night with all the excitement of the procession. He went briskly into the kitchen and he threw some salt over his shoulder, just to be sure. You've seen that works. But still, the feeling persisted. Only now, it wasn't a feeling. It was an itch. It started in his big toe on his left foot, and very soon he was sure it was going to drive him mad. He scraped his foot on the table leg, he jiggled it about, and his belly, it was as big as a cooking apple these days, so there's no way it was going to get down and itch it. Wild with itch, he stubbed his toe against the door. He swore, but it stopped. John Bristles sighed with relief, but no. The itch hadn't disappeared. It had moved. It was ferreting its way up his leg. In under a minute, it was at his knee. He yelped as it clawed over his kneecap and hooked its way up his thigh. He slapped at it as if it was a roach. It skittered around his porky butt and settled into the base of his spine. There, it wormed away, making him wriggle like the devil himself. There was nothing for it. He ripped off his breeches and he rubbed. Oh, you know how good that feels. But this didn't feel good. Because what was this? A lump? No, not a lump. A stump? And the stump was swelling. It was growing bigger, growing taut and long in his hand, inch after inch, soon nearly a foot, longer, more, and stubble, no, not stubble, bristle, surely not fur. 2 cottages along, Lettuce Loveday bent over to pull her buns from the oven. She too had woken feeling all aflutter as she giggled to herself. But she put it down to the deacon in the Archbishop's ghostly retinue yesterday, who, as the eminent cavalcade passed through the village, had caught her eye, given her a wink. And all night she had turned and twisted beneath his hairy torso before he fled on his pony at dawn to catch up his party. So she bent down to withdraw those buns. Lettuce felt the most extraordinary sensation, one she had sadly not felt during the night. She sprang upright with a squeal and curled her hands beneath her skirts. Heavens above! The hot buns scattered across the floor as she passed out cold. Well, it was no surprise to Mildred Farthing, the midwife. For years, her neighbours had whispered and gossiped about her alleged command of the dark arts and stuff and nonsense, she said, but she's privately always wondered, I don't know, maybe. Well, anyway, she was rather delighted to find that she could bowl around the rafters. It was not something she imagined she'd be doing in her 90th year. And indeed, it was only when the village children scampered down the main street like a scurry of squirrels did the villagers each realize that theirs was not the solitary affliction of a damned soul, but a wholesale collective calamity. Everyone stayed in that week, ministering potions, praying on their knees, trying any which way to tie their tails into their trousers. But nothing worked. The tails just got longer, the tails just got bushier, the tails got more curly. And the night clouds hung low by Friday, as one by one the villagers slunk to the cottage of Alfred Pale, their unelected chief. "What will we do?" wailed Maid Eliza. "It's market day on Monday, and the village will be full of strangers here to buy my eggs, here to buy your pies," she pointed to Baker William. "If we're discovered, they'll tell the authorities and we'll be rounded up and sent to the gallows." "Or worse," muttered the gravedigger. The villagers scratched their heads. Some of them scratched their tails. They'd just become used to them, And long past the witching hour, they formulated strategies, they discussed strategies, they dismissed strategies. A pilgrimage to Canterbury to beg forgiveness at the grave of the Archbishop was pressed by the more pious, but others who were mindful of the contribution that would no doubt be expected towards the cathedral's mighty coffers advocated a more cost-effective approach, and they recommend a defrocked priest in the swamps of Romney who offered cut-price exorcisms. The clamour of desperation near took off Elder Alfred's roof. "Calm down. If we cannot pay or pray our way out of this tricksy situation, then there's only one thing for it." 20 pairs of eyes fixed on John Bristles as he reached inside his boot, pulled out a hand machete, and chopped it down full force into the inch-thick wood of Alfred's kitchen table. The chop was followed by a thud as Baker William hit the floor in a dead faint. Well, it was in this way that Baker William became the first to lose his tail, as John Bristles took immediate advantage of the situation and lopped it off. Mildred always had a skein of yarn in her pocket. She stitched it up fast and with a flourish. And the villagers, I had to admit, it was a neat job. So over the weekend, white-faced and wobbly-kneed, the villagers each took a trip to the butcher's store, and by market day, the open front of the shop was hung with string after string of succulent, exotic-looking sausages. "Well, we can leave no evidence," argued the butcher, "and for sure those Frenchies travelling back from London to Dover will know no different. There's nothing they don't eat." So it seems things were sewn up, so to speak, but for the matter of Lettuce Loveday. You see, she'd spent the whole weekend hidden up the chimney of her cottage. The suit wasn't conducive to making a plan, but plot she must. She simply could not bear to lose her tail. She'd grown so fond of it. She'd grown so fond of stroking it. She liked the way it tickled under her skirts. And John Bristles, who was very busy devising recipes for his Kentish Longtail sausages, he just did not realise he was missing one string. So, market day arrived. And the Frenchies, to be sure, they wondered at the strange gait of the villagers. And when they asked the English if they'd like to sit down and join them for an ale, many joined them for an ale, but not one of them would sit down. But, my, what was this new delicacy? Surely the offish English could not produce a sausage of such tenderness, such exquisite flavour. Fights broke out as the French merchants snapped up the strings of sausages. And one of the French merchants, a little worse for the local ale, sank down on the nearest doorstep. He was mighty surprised when, as dusk fell and his hangover took hold, he found the door behind him open, and he was yanked into the lusty arms of Lettuce Loveday. Zut alors! What a night! The woman was a goddess. He wondered in the morning as she made his breakfast bun. He had imagined, he had dreamed such gymnastics, surely. I mean, they did not really dangle upside down from the beams. But oh, the ecstasy. And now he discovered she made a good bun too. There was no choice. Mistress Lettuce Loveday must return to Chartres with Monsieur Succolet to be his wife. Lettuce, her tail curled tight round her thigh and tied with a red ribbon, she packed up her bags, and she was gone with her Gallic lover before the village had risen. Her Kentish Longtail, safe and secret, perhaps. Thank you.